substance from outside the body to inside, which is the oxygen. This is the food of the respiratory system. And it takes some substance from inside the body to outside when you exhale, which is the waste, carbon dioxide, okay? So here it's written that breathing, it's the most fundamental action of the body. What does it mean? It's the most vital action of the body. Without it, a person cannot live for a couple of minutes. So it's a fundamental action of the body. Page 159, you have a definition. What is breathing? Or the other name of it is external respiration. Okay, you can see it in the first part. Breathing or external respiration. Both of them, they have the same meaning. What is the definition? It's the inhalation and exhalation of air and the gases that it contains. What gases? Oxygen and carbon dioxide. Next, you have the structure of the respiratory system. What does it mean, structure? What are the organs? From where the air is passing till it will reach where? So the first organ for the respiration, it's the nose. From the nose, it will go to pharynx. The next organ is the larynx. After that, the air will go to an organ called trachea. From the trachea, the air goes to another organ, it's called bronchi. From the bronchi, the air goes to this tubes, which is called bronchioles. After that, the air goes to this small circle structures, which is called alveoli, and then it goes to the lungs. So again, the air passes to which structures or organs? Nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, alveoli, lung. Okay? Same when you eat food, it's passing from the mouth, then it goes to esophagus, stomach, intestine, large intestine, and then excretion. Okay? So the air is passing in these organs. Nose, pharynx, larynx, bronchi, bronchiole, alveoli, lung. Okay? Okay, let's start. The first organ is the nose. So the nose is the first organ that air will enter from it. And it's the only organ that you can see in the respiratory system. All the other organs are inside. Okay? So like you can see here in the nose, you will find here the structure. The nose, from the middle, it has a cartilage, and on the two sides, it has the nasal bones. This is what they remove in nose jobs. These two bones, they remove it in nose jobs, okay? From inside the nose, from the two nostrils, from the two openings, the nose is extended to this area. This area is called paranasal sinus. So put a line under this word here. Page 159, you will find here. Paranasal sinus. What is paranasal sinus? Sometimes this is what it gets inflamed. So put a line under this word, it's important. Paranasal sinus.
The structure,
it's in the structure, in this part, on the side. Yes. So again, for the nose, we said it's the first organ that air enters. And then we said that it has cartilage in the middle and two nasal bones on the side. And we said that the nostrils are extended from inside to the paranasal sinus. Okay? If you go more down, you will find the function of the nose. Like we said, it's the first organ that air enters. Also, it's the organ for smelling. You smell through the nose. What else? It warms the air and it filters the dust and bacteria. So this is the function of the nose. What is the nose doing? It's the organ for smelling, the first organ of breathing. It filters the air and warms the air. Make the air warm. Okay? The next organ is the pharynx. What is the pharynx? From the back of the mouth and nose, we have a small tube. It's called pharynx. Also in the pharynx, this is where you have the tonsils. You know the two tissues that usually gets inflamed when you get sick? It's in the pharynx. So in this organ, we have the tonsils. This is a lymphatic tissue. What does it mean, lymphatic tissue? It's part of your immunity. It fights infection. Okay? If you go down, you will find the structure of the pharynx. It's a 12.5 centimeter tube. It's muscular and fibrous. What does it mean? Muscular, it means it has muscles inside it. And fibrous means it's tough or a hard type of tissue. It's not soft tissue. It's hard, fibrous. If you go down, you will find what's the function of the pharynx. Mainly, all organs before the lung, they will be warming the air and filtering the air. Because when we are breathing, we want the air that will reach our lungs to be warm and clean. Okay? So just put a line under the function of the pharynx. It acts as an airway passage and also warms and moistens the air. So far we finished the nose. We said this is the first organ that air enters, and we said that it's the organ for smelling, and also it warms the air and filters the dust. For the pharynx, we said pharynx, from the back of the nose and the mouth, there is a tube called pharynx, and in the pharynx we have the tonsils, which is a lymphatic tissue, a part of your immunity to fight infection. Okay? And it's a 12.5 centimeter tube. Okay, any questions for these two organs? You understand or no? Is it hard? So far we said what's breathing, we said what's the food of the respiratory system, oxygen, and the waste is carbon dioxide. Then we said the first structure is the nose, the second structure is pharynx. Okay? Next, page 160, you have the next organ, which is the larynx. What is the larynx? So after the pharynx, the air will go to the larynx. What is the larynx? It's the voice box. What does it mean, voice box? For the voice production. So air enters and it will start vibrating some stuff inside your larynx. That's the time voice can be produced. Okay? Here you will find something that is very important. On top of the larynx, we have the thyroid cartilage. What is the thyroid cartilage? Usually this thyroid cartilage, you will see it more prominent in men. In women, it's not prominent. In men, it's much more prominent. So it's called what? Thyroid cartilage. It's on top of which organ? Larynx. Okay? Again, the same thing. For the larynx also, it will be filtering the air and moistening the air. All organs of the respiratory system, their function is to filter the air and make it moist or warm. Okay? Next, you have the trachea. Like you can see, the trachea, it's this tube. It has some circles on top of it, like onion rings. You know how it looks? So the trachea has on top of it some type of cartilage. It's called hyaline cartilage. Also, it's important to know the type of cartilage. You'll find it here. You saw? The trachea, air travels, which runs from the front to the back, whatever, and then you will find hyaline cartilage anteriorly. Okay? Don't forget, here the most important function, voice production. Don't forget.
On trachea, no. On larynx.
On the larynx, yes. For the trachea, it has a different cartilage. Here, it has thyroid cartilage. Here, it has hyaline cartilage. Okay, different cartilage. Also in the trachea, it has some special type of cells. The cells are called goblet cells. Just the name of the cells are like this. Those are type of cells that secrete mucus to make the area moist and warm. Okay? The next organ is this one, bronchi. What is bronchi? Bronchi, like you can see, it's the first two divisions. It's the first two divisions of the respiratory system. So it's the first branch of the respiratory system. Okay? So it's the first thing that will take the air into the lung. So it carries the air into the lung, the first organ to take the air into the lung. Like you can see here, the bronchi, this is the bronchi, okay? And here is the lung. There is a point here, like you can see, where the bronchi is meeting with the lungs. This point is called helium. So the point where the bronchi enters the lung, it's called helium. Okay? So here, if I ask you a question, just logically from the drawing, if I tell you, for example, what is the function of the trachea, or from where to where the trachea is carrying the air, what you will tell me?
Trachea, from the pharynx
From the larynx to
to the
bronchi. Exactly. So what's before it to what's after it? Same if I tell you what's the function, or what's from where to where the larynx is carrying the air, you will tell me from the pharynx to the trachea. What's before it to what's after it?
Nose.
Okay? If I tell you exactly, the pharynx takes the air from where to where? From the nose to the larynx. What's before it to what's after it? You got the point? So there will be some questions in the MCQ. For example, the trachea is responsible to carry the air from which organ to which organ?
This is questions.
Easy. Exactly. It's very easy question. Okay. Next, page 161, we have the bronchioles. What are the bronchioles? Bronchioles are the final and the finest tubes of the respiratory system. It's the smallest tubes, like you can see in this picture. This is the bronchioles, the small tubes. So it's the final and finest tube of the respiratory system. Also, for the bronchioles, they have a lot of layers. They have muscular layer, they have muscles inside it. They have fibrous layer, which is a tough layer. And they have elastic layer. Elastic, it means it extends and recoils. Elastic.
It also contain goblet cells.
And this is the trachea,
Trachea.
not the bronchioles, okay? So for the elastic tissue, why it has elastic tissue? Because of course when you are inhaling, the bronchioles, they open, exactly, and when you exhale, they recoil back to their original state. So they are having how many layers? 3. Elastic tissue, muscular tissue, and fibrous tissue. It's a tough organ, fibrous. Okay, so if I tell you what's the function of the bronchiole, it will be what? Taking the air from where to where? Bronchiole.
Trachea.
From bronchi to
alveoli.
alveoli. Yes. What's before it to what's after it. Next, you have the lungs. The lung is the center of the respiratory system. What else? It's a spongy organ. So it's what? A spongy organ. It's not a fibrous organ, it's spongy. So for your left lung, if this is the right lung and this is the left lung, for your right lung, it's divided to 3 lobes. 1, 2, 3. For the left lung, it's divided only to two lobes, 1 and 2. So the left lung is divided to two parts. The right lung is divided to 3 parts. Okay? So same when you want to protect your phone, what do? You put a cover, right? And screen protector. Same for your lungs. It's protected by a membrane or a layer. It's called pleura.
Cavity.
Pleura, okay? So the pleura protects the lung. And the pleura is 2 layers, not 1 layer. So for your lungs are where? Here, right? So the lungs are protected by what? By your rib cage, right? Your ribs and sternum, by your rib cage. So the 2 layers of the pleura, I have 1 layer that will be more inside, more close to the lung tissue itself. And I have another layer that will be outside, which will be more closer to the chest cavity or the rib cage. So the inner layer, it's called visceral layer. This is more closer to the lung itself. And the outer layer is called parietal layer, and it's more closer to the chest bones, to the rib cage. So 2 layers. 1 is more close to the lung, 1 is more close to the chest bones. You will find it here.
And between?
Here.
Between layers. What?
Between the layers, you just have a space like this. It's called pleural space or pleural cavity. It's just empty, doesn't have anything. Sometimes what happens, some people get some type of disease, air will enter into this part. So when air will enter in this part, they will have breathing difficulties. They will have extra air in the lung. They will want to remove this air, okay? Okay, so again, the lung is the spongy tissue and the center of the respiratory system. It's protected by your chest cavity or rib cage. And like we said, for the left lung, it's divided to 2 lobes. The right lung, it's divided to 3 lobes. And we also said that the lung has a layer of protection on top of it. It's called pleura. This pleura is 2 layers. 1 layer is more close to the lung itself. It's called visceral layer. And 1 layer is more outside, close to the rib bones. And then we said that between these 2 layers, we have just space. They are not sticking together. They are not touching each other, so that there will not be friction between these layers. There is a space between the layers. Okay, this space is called pleural cavity. Okay, the last organ is the alveoli. Like you can see this circle-like structure. This is the alveoli. And for the alveoli, they are the organs where the exchange of gases take place. What does it mean? This is where the oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged. So it's not in the lung itself, it's exactly where? Inside the alveoli. This is where the gas exchanges happen. Okay? Any questions for the organs and the functions? So if I ask you a question and I tell you which organ is responsible for the voice production, it will be what? Larynx. What is the organ that has hyaline cartilage? Trachea. Okay? Which organ has the thyroid cartilage?
Cartilage.
That is more prominent in men than women.
Trachea.
Which
Larynx.
organ?
Larynx.
Larynx. Larynx.
Trachea.
Okay? Trachea has the hyaline cartilage. That's it. And the goblet cells. Okay? Okay, so if I tell you what is the organ of smelling? Nose. So any questions for this part? No questions?
No. ماشي.
Okay. 1 second, I come.
Yours.
Alveoli. Okay? Page 162, we have the mechanism of respiration. What is the mechanism of respiration? First of all, here there are two definitions I want you to underline. The first definition, you will find it in the 4th line. The entrance and exit of air in and out the body is a process known as breathing. Put a line. Where the entrance and exit of oxygen and carbon dioxide in and out the cells is a process known as gases exchange. So entrance and exit of air in and out body, breathing. But entrance and exit of air like oxygen and carbon dioxide in the cells, it's known as gas exchange. Okay? So what happens? Now, when you are breathing air, it's not that this oxygen will go to your lungs and that's it, you will exhale and that's it, finish. No. When you breathe oxygen, this oxygen reaches your lungs, and even from your lungs, it needs to go to your blood to make it oxygenated. And even after the blood, it needs to go to the cells. So even your cells, they need oxygen to work. So it's not only reaching the lungs and I will do like this, exhale and finish. No, the oxygen is going to my lungs. From my lungs, it's going to my blood. And from my blood, it's going to my cells. Okay? So I have two mechanisms. One is something happening between the alveoli and the blood. This is called external respiration. And I have another mechanism happening between the blood and the cells. This is called internal respiration. What is happening? Everything happens by pressure difference. What does it mean? So for example, now if I have in this class 20 students and outside the class is empty, so it means here I have high pressure of students.
Fusion.
When I open the door, the 20 students will go from the high pressure to the low pressure, which is outside, right? Same thing is happening in your body. So I have high oxygen concentration in my alveoli when you are inhaling. Now, alveoli has too much oxygen. So from the alveoli, it will go to the blood and then it will go to the cells. Same thing for the waste, for the carbon dioxide. It's highly concentrated in your cells. So from the cells, it will go to the blood, and from the blood, it will go to the lungs or the alveoli. And then you will exhale. So everything happens by pressure difference. Okay? So here, like we said, I have external respiration, something much more external, like alveoli and blood, and I have something much more deeper, internal respiration between the blood and cells. So again, oxygen is high where?
Can you excuse me for a while?
In my lungs. From the lungs it will go to the blood, and from the blood it will go to the cells. The same thing for the carbon dioxide. It's more in the cells. From the cells it will go to the blood, and then from the blood it will go to the lungs, and then you will exhale. Okay? Okay. Page 164, you have how does air get into the body from the first place? Like from the beginning, why I am breathing? Why? Again, because of the pressure difference. What does it mean? For the atmospheric pressure, which is the pressure around me, it's higher than the pressure in your lungs. That's why you do inhale. When I inhale, now the pressure in my lungs is higher than the atmospheric pressure. So I will exhale. Okay? So everything is by pressure difference. Same as the same principle I told you. I have in this class 20 students, so I have high pressure of student. But outside the class is empty. When I open the door, the students will go from the high pressure, which is inside the class, to outside the class. Same thing is happening in your body. Okay? Okay. Here also you have the muscles that help during respiration. It's the diaphragm muscle. Diaphragm muscle is a muscle here, like a tent. It separates your chest from your abdomen. It's a very important muscle. Anything that needs expulsion from your body, this muscle is working. When you are urinating, this muscle is working. When you are defecating, this muscle is working. Even when you deliver baby, this muscle is working. Okay? So the diaphragm, this is the first and main muscle, and also you have another muscle called intercostal muscle. What are intercostal muscle? Muscle between the ribs. So put a line here. The muscles that help in the respiration. Diaphragm and intercostal muscles. Okay? Here we have the function, what is happening in the chest cavity when you inhale and when you exhale. When you are inhaling or inspiration, when you are doing like this, taking breath, what's happening in the chest cavity? First of all, your chest cavity moves up and out, right? The diaphragm, this muscle that is like a tent, it will flatten. It will become flat. So this muscle, when it contracts, it becomes flat, not like a tent, like this. And the chest cavity increases in size. So when you are inhaling, more cavity inside, more space. The opposite happens when you exhale or expire. When you expire or exhale, you are doing, what will happen? The chest cavity moves down and in. Okay? And the diaphragm will become tent shape. So the chest cavity will reduce in size. It will become smaller. Okay? So here also the three functions that the diaphragm also helps with: micturition, which is the urine excretion; defecation, feces expulsion; parturition, which is the giving of birth. Okay? Okay? This is all what we explained. Only what I'm saying, this is the important part. Don't read everything. Here, this is what we said for the intercostal muscles. When they contract, you are inhaling and the chest will move up and out. When you exhale, the chest will move down and in, and the chest cavity will become smaller. Here, we have a very important question. How does the body know when to breathe? What does it mean? So how does the body know when to breathe? What does it mean? So here, remember we said it's with pressure difference, right? But it's not only pressure difference, just pressure and that's it, atmospheric pressure. There needs to be a control from higher center. What does it mean, higher center? Brain, right? So everything needs to be controlled by the brain. It's not only oxygen, carbon dioxide, pressure, going in, going out, and that's it. No, the brain is controlling all of this. Central nervous system, exactly. So what is happening? In your skin, you have some type of cells to detect touching, right? Because with your skin, you need to touch to feel. So this is rough, this is rough, this is smooth, this is hot, this is cold, right? So you need to touch. you have here cells that are called touch receptors, because in your skin you need to touch. But for breathing, I will not touch anything. I need something else. I have different cells. They are called chemoreceptors. So this one is called touch receptors. The one for breathing is chemoreceptors. Why it's called chemo? Chemistry. Because I need oxygen and carbon dioxide. It's chemistry. So what happens? In your arteries, you know the arteries in your body, the red, okay, not the blue one. There are arteries that are much more deeper. In your arteries, you have chemoreceptors. These chemoreceptors, when you have low levels of oxygen in your body, they send alert to a part in the brain called medulla oblongata. And this medulla oblongata will send activation for all the breathing muscles, and you will start inhaling. Of course, you cannot stay inhaled for all the time. You need to breathe out, right? So how you will exhale? You have another part in the brain that will just, as a reflex, automatic, it will activate the exhalation. So again, how does the body know when to breathe? Like we said, it's not only pressure difference, atmospheric pressure, and that's it. No, there needs to be a control from higher center, brain. Same when your muscles are contracting. How they are contracting? They are getting a nerve supply from the brain to activate them to contract. Same for your glands, hormones, how they are being secreted. There is a nerve that goes to the gland, it will tell it, secrete hormone. Okay? Same for your breathing. There is a higher control center. What happens? In your arteries, you have chemoreceptors, cells to detect chemistry. Why chemistry? Because here I am talking about oxygen and carbon dioxide. So now the body knows you have low levels of oxygen. You need to breathe. So it will send to a part in the brain called medulla oblongata. This part of the brain will activate the respiration muscles and you will inhale.
How's medulla?
Medulla oblongata. Okay, now you inhale. You cannot remain inhale all the time. You need to breathe out, right? This is just as a reflex, automatic. There is a part in the brain called pons. It will make the exhalation and then you will exhale. So it's automatic. Okay? Any questions? So now we said 3 mechanisms for respiration. The first one was the external and internal respiration. How from the higher oxygen it will go to the other parts, and from the higher carbon dioxide it will go to the other parts. The second mechanism of respiration, we said from the beginning, why is the lung breathing? Because the atmospheric pressure is higher, the lung pressure is lower. So you will inhale. Now it's the opposite. My lung has higher pressure, atmospheric pressure is low. So I will exhale. The last and the most important mechanism is from the beginning, why I'm breathing? Because it's controlled by the brain, higher control center, by your nervous system. How it's controlled by the nervous system? I have chemoreceptors, cells that detect chemistry, oxygen and carbon dioxide. My body knows I have low level of oxygen. I need to inhale. So it will send to the brain. The brain will give the order for the respiration, start respiration. For the muscles of the respiration, the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles, they will contract, I will inhale. Then I have another structure in the brain, it's called pons. The pons will make the exhalation. Okay? Any questions?
Very clear.
Okay. Any questions for today's system before we go to the disease and disorders? Is it difficult? I think it's simple more than the cardiovascular.
Yeah.
Yeah? Don't forget, much more, yes? So don't forget, here we have 3 definitions that were important. The first definition was page 159. This one, inhalation or external respiration. It's the inhalation and exhalation of the air and the gases that it contains. This is the first definition, important. The two other definitions are page 162 here. The entrance and exit of air in and out the body is the breathing, and the entrance of exit of oxygen and carbon dioxide is the gas exchange. Page 162 in the first part. Here. Yes. So these two definitions also important. So total you have 3 definitions in this chapter important. Okay, why I'm telling you this? Because the last batch they got a question. It was the entrance and exit of oxygen and carbon dioxide in and out the cell is the process known as what? And they have 4 choices: internal respiration, external respiration, breathing, gases exchange. So it's gases exchange. Oxygen, carbon dioxide in and out the cells, it's the gas exchange. Okay? So if I ask you what are the 2 muscles of respiration, what are the 2 muscles of respiration?
Diaphragm and intercostal
Costal muscle. It's the muscles between your ribs. Okay, true or false? When you inhale, the chest cavity reduces in size.
Yes.
When you inhale, it's increasing in size, not reducing. Okay? Diaphragm, when it contracts, true or false? Diaphragm, when it contracts, it becomes flat. Flat or dome-shaped? True or false?
It contracts when you
inhale, so it contracts and it becomes flat. When you exhale, the diaphragm relaxes and it becomes dome-shaped. That's why the chest cavity increases or decreases in size. So when you are inhaling, the chest is moving up and out, so it means now there is more area inside. When you exhale, the chest is moving down and in, and also the diaphragm is becoming curved, so there is less space inside. Okay? Okay, for the disease and disorders, page 165. The first disease is the bronchitis. Put a line under inflammation of bronchial tubes. The second disease is the emphysema. Emphysema is when the alveoli, they stretch and they lose their elasticity. So alveoli is this one, the grape. You remember here we draw like circles? This was the alveoli. They are stretching, but they are not returning back. Okay, they are not elastic. Pleurisy is the inflammation of the pleural lining. Pneumonia is the inflammation of lung tissue. Tuberculosis is a disease by bacteria.
Closes or seals?
Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis.
Yes. Next, it's the asthma. Asthma is the difficulty in breathing. But which breathing? Exhalation. That's why they take the asthmatic people, right? So that it will provoke exhalation. So they will exhale. Okay? Next, it's the rhinitis. Rhinitis is the stuffy, congested nose and sinus. You know, during flu, you get rhinitis, inflammation. It's like runny and everything. Next, you have high fever. High fever, it's the allergic rhinitis. So it's not related only to flu. It can be related to certain pollen, certain like sometimes perfume, dust, exactly. Changes in weather, like from summer to another weather. Yes, this happens.
Even in air conditioning.
In air condition, some people,
So
they
they
get
get
provoked.
provoked.
Yes. Next, you have sinusitis. Sinusitis, it's the inflammation of sinus. Where was the sinus? Remember we said that? Yes. In the nose, the nostrils are extended to Paranasal sinus. So this is what's getting inflamed. Stress, of course, stress increases the breathing rate. Common cold, it's a viral infection involving the nose and the respiratory passage, but it doesn't reach the lungs. So before the lungs. Next, it's the cough. Cough is the sudden expulsion of air from the lungs to clear the passageway. Influenza, it's a disease of the upper airway and lungs, and it's contagious, so if someone has it, you can get it. Laryngitis, inflammation of larynx. Pharyngitis, it's the sore throat or inflammation of pharynx. Like we said, everything ending with itis, inflammation. Pulmonary embolism, it's the blockage of the pulmonary artery. This one, you took it in cardiovascular system. Okay? It's just repeating here. Tonsillitis, it's the infection of the tonsils. Cor pulmonale, it's not important. COPD or chronic obstructive airway disease, it's a disease of the lung which the airways become narrowed. So everything is narrowed. Cystic fibrosis, this is a congenital disease, so from the time the baby is born. The child's lung, intestine, pancreas are clogged with thick mucus. There is a mucus closing these organs. Next, you have hyperventilation. It's the increase in the rate of breathing. Hyperventilation, like this. Lung cancer is the carcinoma of the lung. Pertussis is the whooping cough. Whooping cough, the cough has a certain voice. Like the voice of the cough is not just any cough, it's whooping. Like it's weird voice. Next, it's the pneumothorax. It's the presence of air in the pleural cavity. Pulmonary fibrosis, it's the scarring in the alveolar wall. So the alveoli, this structure, the walls are scarring. They are much more rigid and they are not flexible. Sarcoidosis, it's the formation of nodules in the lung. SARS or severe acute respiratory syndrome. This is the respiratory disease that is originated in China. After some times, now it's the COVID. The last one is the snoring. Snoring is the vibration of the respiratory structure and resulting of sound. Okay? Just you need to know these keywords because as you see, all this disease, they have the same signs, same symptoms. A person will feel pain in the chest, difficulty breathing, coughing, fever, inflammation. So how you will differentiate it in exam? Only with these small keywords that I told you. So only this you need to underline.